Hi guys, welcome to this speed build video in The Sims 4. My name is Irene and today I am building AQUA. This is a huge underwater resort with 2 bigger underwater houses, 2 smaller underwater houses, underwater nightclub, and I will build a coral reef. I also will build a couple of glass domes to create the look of bubbles in the water. The thing that inspired me to do this build, normally I always get my inspiration from pictures I see on Pinterest or movies or series, but no, not today. Today I got my inspiration from my latest build. The last build I did was the flame, a futuristic beach house in the shape of a flame. If you haven't seen that video already, check it out if you want. But I had so much fun with that build, and when I was done with it, I was just not finished with it. I wanted to do more with it. So I started thinking about what I could do with it, and then I started thinking about the 4 elements. The 4 elements are fire, water, earth and air, and I thought it would be a cool idea to make a mini series on my channel of 4 different builds, all standing for the 4 different elements. So of course the flame, fire, this build, aqua, water. Obviously later on this week you can see the build for air or earth, and next week the other one. And yeah, in that way I wanted to create the 4 elements series. Of course the Real to Sims series going on my channel right now, still going on. I think that could go on for years. There are always houses, real life houses or architectural concepts that I want to create in the game. This is just a mini series in the middle of all of my other videos. So I started thinking about a water build, and it was such a long time ago that I did an underwater house. So I was just ready to do one again. They're always a bit different, a bit challenging, and I wanted to take it to the next level. So I wanted to do an underwater resort. So that was the inspiration for the exterior of this build, but for the interior, totally different inspiration. For the interior, I went with a Fallout 4. Amazing game from Bethesda. And Bethesda, if you're listening, I want a new Elder Scrolls game. But Fallout 4, amazing game as well. I've played Fallout 3 too. I thought Fallout 3 was a little bit better. Totally different story for a totally different time. But in Fallout 4, and I'm sorry if I'm spoiling anything, you can join different factions. And one of them is the Institute. And at quite the end of the game, you can visit the Institute, and it's underground and it's very white and bright and futuristic looking, and for the interior and especially underground, because there's not only things going on the water here but underground as well, I wanted to go for the white and bright futuristic look from the Institute from Fallout 4, but I didn't want to make it look that clinical, so I will create some bubbles everywhere. But of course you can see that all later on in this video. The lot where I'm building it on, it's a 50 by 50 lot in Sulani, one of my favorite lots in the entire game. But of course this build would be even cooler if I could build it in an ocean, on an ocean lot. But unfortunately we cannot build underwater on the ocean lots that came with the Island Living pack with Sulani. It was a bit disappointing when the pack came out, when I was waiting for Island Living. I was especially very excited for these ocean lots and very excited to build underwater there and maybe build huge underwater cities. But unfortunately that wasn't possible, and I think it makes sense because I think it's a whole other level if you have to realize that in a game. But I had to come up with a different solution because of course I had to build on the ground, basements, pools, everything. So I picked this lot, as I said, a 50 by 50 lot. It was still surrounded with the tropical look I wanted to go for, still near the ocean, but I could use all the options I was just talking about. As you can see, I'm working on the coral reef right now, and it was so much fun to do. For the entire mountain, you can see at the back of the build, I thought it was cool to make the bigger orb or the bigger dome half sticking from the mountain, sticking out of the mountain. And for the mountain and for the coral reef, they're all debug items. I use a lot of debug items in every single build of mine, and if you want to unlock these items you have to use a double cheat. I said it before, so I don't want to repeat myself, but I will put the cheats that I used in the description box down below. So if you want to unlock these debug items, you can see in the description box which cheats I used. And you get a whole, if you use the cheat, you get a whole array of more than 1,000 new items if you have every single pack in the game, and they're amazing, especially the rocks. And the rock that I use here for the mountain is one of my favorite debug items because it's sticking in the ground and you can place the bit of the lot as well, so you can really use it if you want to blend the environment surrounding the build with the build itself. I use it for my canyon container house as well to create the canyon. And if you raise the item up, because it's sticking in the ground, it's not floating up in the air, but you can see the stone that was sticking in the ground. So yeah, it's an amazing item to use if you want to create mountains or things like that. But the coral reef, man, debug items, so amazing. Island Living came with some great debug items, especially for the coral reef. Starfish, little small pink flowers, other things you can use for a coral reef. A whole rock with a lot of flowers going on, perfect for a coral reef. And all the plants that I used on the exterior, all debug items as well. The only that just placed in the palm trees aren't debug items, but all the other plants are debug items. You can see the entrance of the entire resort of the left here. Now it's just a gap in the ground and a little bit strange, but I will cover it up later on. That was actually the most struggling for this entire build. I thought so long and hard about how to make an entrance, and I didn't want to make it too obvious. I thought with the glass domes that I placed in, if I just placed a room to create an entrance, it was a bit distracting of the entire build. But I didn't want to make just a gap in the ground. I thought it was a bit strange to do it in that way. So the thing that I did, I made that gap in the ground first. And later on I used an item that came with cats and dogs. It's an arch with a lot of small cherry blossom flowers all over it. And I placed it, here it is. I placed it over the entrance. I sized it down a couple of times. And then I covered it up with these gorgeous purple trees. That is just a normal item as well, not a debug item. And with some other plants, Island Living came with some hanging plants as well. You can already see them in the catalog. Yeah, here they are. And I covered the whole entrance up in that way. In that way, it wasn't just a gap in the ground, but I thought it looked a bit more as a part of the entire mountain here, and it was a bit more natural and a bit more realistic as far as this build could go as realistic, because it's not realistic at all, of course. I used these fishies. It's a wall decoration. It came with dine out, and I thought it gave the whole entrance a little bit more, incorporate the whole on the ground feel, of course. And I placed a lot of these steam crates in. You can see that I'm placing them in right here, and they're very, very important for this build. You can see that now I have steam and bubbles all throughout the entire water, and I thought it was essential for creating that coral reef look. If you want to create that same look, just place all these crates in, then go to live mode. Press on play for a couple of seconds, and then you can see all these bubbles and steam coming up. And I use it always when I'm placing in water in builds, because I always think it makes the build look more realistic. But I'm onto the decks in the underwater houses right now. I wanted to make a part of the underwater house on the ground and a part with the decks, so you can sit on these decks, read a book or something, or just enjoy the amazing views all over the coral reef. I wanted to make these decks in the shape of clouds because I thought in that way you were floating on the water, sitting on these clouds. And especially in the whole area where I'm building right now, here will be the nightclub. And could you imagine just sitting that cloud-shaped deck with it look all over the coral reef? Oh man, so amazing. And I used different round decks. I combined them together, and in that way I could make these cloud-shaped decks. You can see that I've just placed in a waterfall. It's a debug item. It came with Island Living as well. Of course, I saved this build to the gallery so you can download it and put it in your own game. And I play tested it before I put it there. And unfortunately, this build wasn't functional with that waterfall in it. So I deleted the waterfall and I uploaded it to the gallery. So when you're putting this build in your own game and pulling it from the gallery, it's without that waterfall. All the other things are there, just not that waterfall. I think it isn't that important because you cannot even see it from the outside, from the exterior. Just a feature in the water feature in the nightclub. But I just had to remove it because otherwise the entire build wasn't functional. But we're on to the whole underground part here, or on the water part here. And as I said, I used the Institute from Fallout 4 as an inspiration here. Especially with all the white glowing walls. I wanted to make this whole underground section. I didn't want to make it look like a dungeon. I wanted to make it look as white and bright as I possibly could. So that's why I used the glowing walls. They came with spade. And it's a I think the most important item that came with spade, because I always use it when I'm building pools, when I want to make the pools look glowy, and it came in a lot of different colors, and I'm using the white on the interior here. But I didn't want to make it look that clinical, so that's when I decided to place all these bubbles on the wall. It's a wall light, it's an item that came with Discover University. And when I saw it, when the pack came out, I didn't know what to do with it at all. I thought it was a bit of a strange item. But man, I used it so much in this build. Not throughout the entire build though, but especially in this entrance hall with the desk where you can check in if you want to stay in this resort, of course, and in the corridors later on. And I used a couple of these waterfall fountains on the walls as well. It's on the ground, but I wanted to make that look like it was on the water as well, because it is on the water as well. So I thought with the bubbles on the wall, it incorporated the whole underwater theme a bit more. Same for the round rocks that I used throughout this whole section of the build. They came in the same colors as the wall lights that I used. And of course I wanted to create that look of bubbles, especially with the glass domes going on in the exterior. I wanted to incorporate that in the interior as well, of course. But I talked about if you want to pull this from the gallery and put it in your own game, and that I removed the waterfall. But if you put it in your own game and if you want to play around with it, unfortunately we don't have a hotel option in the game. It's a bit sad, so you cannot use it as a real resort. But maybe you can use it just to live here and assign different beds to different sims and take roommates, and in that way make a whole community that's living here on the water on the ground. Or maybe you want to use it just as a nightclub or a bar, let your creativity flow. Maybe you can come up with other ways to use this build. Yeah, it's unfortunately unfortunate that we cannot use this build, I'm sorry, as a hotel. But well, it is what it is. We're on to the nightclub here. Of course, I wanted to make a bar where your sims can sit and enjoy a drink, enjoy this water feature, and when they go the stair up, they could see the amazing views all over the coral reef. For the interior, I especially went with a lot of wider, brighter items with a futuristic look, like this amazing couch here that came with city living, and I used the amazing glass dining chairs that came with Get to Work so much. I thought they looked a bit like bubbles as well, and I thought they were very, very fitting for this build as well. In a couple of seconds you can see me decorate one of the bathrooms in this build. There will be 4 bathrooms, but you can just see me decorate one because I didn't want to make this video too long. It's already 20 minutes and I thought it was a bit repetitive if you could see me decorate 4 different bathrooms. I'm working on it right now, and all the 4 bathrooms are basically the same design, the same interior. They're a bit different in colors, but yeah, I thought it was just a bit repetitive if you could see me decorate 4 of the same bathrooms. Same case for the underwater houses. As I said at the beginning of this video, there are 2 bigger underwater houses. You can see me decorate one of the bigger underwater houses right now. And there are 2 smaller underwater houses. The smaller ones and the bigger ones, they're basically the same design. I used kind of the same furniture, so you can see me decorate one bigger underwater house and one smaller underwater house. I wanted to make this build functional, but I didn't want to make a kitchen in every apartment or every underwater house. I thought it wasn't that fitting for a resort, but of course I wanted to make this build if you're deciding to really live here and stay here, that you don't have to go out to eat every single time where your sim is hungry. So I placed some mini fridges in. They came with Discover University and they combine very well with the microwave, so I placed them in as well. So your sims are still able to eat here, and if they want to eat a little bit more luxurious, they can go out of course. And yeah, I think we're almost at the end of this video already. Just a smaller underwater house to go. I'm working on the decks here. And yeah, as I said, for the whole underwater nightclub, could you imagine just sitting here and enjoying the amazing coral reef views? Oh man, I used a lot of flowers everywhere. A couple of them came with the vintage glamour stuff back. As I said, I didn't want to make this part of the build look too clinical, so I thought it was a little bit more playful, a little bit more underwater look if I used a couple of flowers here and there. But yeah, I really hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like or a comment or something. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do. You would make me so happy. I try to do a lot of different things with my builds to keep you guys inspired for your own builds. It's a very strange time in this world at the moment, and I hope you're all safe, you're all okay. I hope you still have a good day today, and I hope to talk to you soon. Goodbye!